I'm not a doomsdayer, but I am a realist. And so in this episode, I'm going to share with you some of the critical points I did in this hour-and-a-half webinar, where I was teaching the audience how they could protect their wealth from what? The storm, the economic storm that I feel is ahead of us. I'm talking about the impending economic downturn, recession, market crash. I've helped people do this for years. And the continuing inflation. We are going to see inflation continue for several years ahead. So get ready, put on your seatbelt. I'll share with you what you can do to protect yourself from 3 ripple effects from irresponsible government spending, the printing of money, and the raising of interest rates. So I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist and retirement planning specialist now for 5 decades, helping thousands of people in America primarily optimize assets, minimize taxes, and empower their authentic wealth. So as a strategist for people, I oftentimes am asked to give updates, my take on what I think is going to happen in the economy. Recently, I gave an economic update mid-2023, and I wanted to share with you my take on what's going on and what I think is going to happen. And I'm going to be, very honest with you. A lot of times I ask my audiences, would you prefer that I be honest or gentle? And they say, well, we want you to be honest. There's no political agenda here, but I'm going to be honest with you, okay? Now, most importantly, what I want you to understand from this episode is how to utilize the often misunderstood financial strategy that outpaces inflation and protects against market loss. And I can't believe how many financial advisors don't understand how to do this. This generates tax-free income for you and helps a lot of retirees not outlive their money. But let's go back to this. I want to outline 6 bullet points so that you understand the ripple effect of these 6 things. First of all, the federal government spent more money, double the money they brought in revenue during COVID-19 because they had all these unemployment benefits and what have you, and they spent twice as much as they brought in. I mean, if you were earning $100,000 and you went out and borrowed another $100,000 and spent $200,000, you got to pay that back. That's not what the government did. They actually used that as an excuse to pass more spending. And so the federal government is now spending more than triple than what they bring in. Now, if your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep will become your downfall. So there's going to be a ripple effect here. So they did it by printing money, and they're going to be raising taxes. So the federal government has been printing money at an unprecedented rate, more than they ever have in the history of this country. You show me any country in the history of the world that tried to spend their way out of their problems, their recessions, by printing money, that it ever turned out good. This is what causes inflation. And you can't believe how many politicians don't even understand basic economics 101. Now, what are the 3 other things? Well, the Federal Reserve, in response to inflation, what have they been doing? They've been raising interest rates to a 40-year high. They're raising interest rates so fast, trying to get inflation under control. That's going to cause some problems. I'll outline a few here in just a moment. The federal government is going after the people who have the money by raising taxes. And I'm talking about capital gain taxes, income taxes, inheritance taxes, corporate taxes, tax, because they've been spending way more than they bring in. The third thing is commercial real estate. This is a crisis right now, and it's what's going to cause more and more bank failures and a cash flow crunch. So these are the 6 things I'm picking right now that I'm going to show you the ripple effect. Now, I'm not a doomsdayer, but I am a realist. And so we must face the reality of what's really going on in this country. My problem is most advisors just put their head in the sand and they tell you, oh, hang in there. Just keep your money in the market. Keep your money in these mutual funds. Keep them in these tax-deferred IRAs or 401ks, even though they know that you're not going to be in a lower tax bracket down the road. Things will get back to normal. No, I've got news for you. Get used to different. I don't think things will get back to the normal most people think it's going to go to. So don't get caught by surprise. So what are the three big ripple effects of those 6 bullet points I was talking about? The first ripple effect is inflation. Inflation is not going away. It affects everyone and will double the cost of living in less than 5 years. Now, let me help you understand this. Inflation, for many, many years, the government reported inflation for the last couple of decades, usually in that 3% range. I always laugh when they would report the consumer price index or the inflation rate for Social Security recipients or retirees. They're going to give you a Social Security increase of 3%. Oh, look at us. We're keeping up with inflation. No, if you don't know the history behind this, back in the 1970s, I started in 1974. Okay, I've been doing this 50 years. Now, Carter came in and we hit double-digit inflation. So when we hit double-digit inflation and it was 10%, I was actually earning 15.5% in 1980 on my universal life contracts. I've always been blessed to earn a rate of return greater than the cost of the inflation rate. But see, a lot of advisors don't know how to do that. So I'm going to show you how to link your returns to the things that inflate. But what happened in the early 80s is the federal government decided they could not afford to pay Social Security recipients, retirees, the actual cost of living increase. So they decided to change the way they report inflation. And so they made 2 big changes back in the 1980s. And I won't show you the charts here. I have other episodes that show this. But if you look at the rate of inflation the government reported with the Consumer Price Index compared to the real rate of inflation, the real rate of inflation has always been about double to triple the actual rate that they report. Because in the early 1980s, they changed the way they reported it. Instead of comparing the same basket of goods to the identical basket of goods year to year and the price increases, they changed it from apples to apples to apples to oranges. They can actually compare the price of an 8-ounce filet mignon steak last year to 8 ounces of hamburger this year, and they do it. And so when they report inflation at 3, I go, no, the real rate of inflation is 9. Well, because of COVID-19 and what have you, the printing of money, they thumped themselves on the chest in year 2021, 2022, and they said, oh, look, we're going to give Social Security recipients a 9% increase. Look at us. I just laughed because the real rate of inflation was 3 times that. People who really understand money, they know that gasoline was up, 50%. Used cars, eggs, all kinds of things, energy, prescriptions. It wasn't 9%, but the government gets away with saying, oh, it's 3% or 9% when it's really double or triple that. And so you have to understand that if you do not have a strategy where you can outpace inflation, you are going to lose purchasing power. It's going to cause you to outlive your money. The best way to calculate that is by using the rule of 72. This is where normally people take whatever interest rate they're earning on investments and they divide that into the number 72 and it'll tell you how many years it takes to double your money. If you're earning 5% interest on your money and you started out with 100 grand, it'll double to 200,000 in 14.4 years. You divide 5 into 72. If you're earning, 8%, it doubles in 9 years. 9%, it doubles in 8 years. 10%, it doubles in 7.2 years. Well, you use the same formula to calculate the impact of inflation. If inflation is 5% divided into 72, the cost of living will double in 14.4 years. But if inflation is 10%, it will double in 7.2 years. Inflation has been over 15. Let's just stop it at 15. 15% inflation divided into 72 means the cost of living will double in 4.8 years. What does that mean? In less than 5 years, if you could get by on $100,000 today, it's going to cost you $200,000 in less than 5 years to buy the same gallons of gas and loaves of bread that $100,000 buys today. The cost of living will double. The purchasing power of the dollar will be cut in half. $100,000 will only buy what $50,000 bought 5 years earlier. If that continues in 10 years, you're going to need $400,000 to buy what $100,000 bought 10 years earlier. That causes most people to outlive their money because they're having to take out 4 times as much money out of their retirement nest eggs, and they can't afford to do that. They'll run out of money. So that's the first ripple effect, is inflation. The second ripple effect is taxes. When the government has deficit spending and they print money, which causes inflation, and they raise taxes. And so Biden, as of the recording of this episode, is wanting to raise income taxes, directly or indirectly, corporate taxes, capital gain taxes, the estate tax, dramatically. And if it affects the little guy. Inflation is like a hidden tax. It affects the little guy. It doesn't do any good to raise minimum wages to, $15 an hour when that's all gobbled up at the gas pump and the hamburger stand with the hidden tax inflation. But see, most people make the mistake of thinking they're going to be in a lower tax bracket when they retire. And when I ask people, okay, how many of you think that taxes in the future will likely be lower? I get nothing but crickets. How many of you think that taxes will be the same? 1 or 2 hands maybe go up. Well, how many of you think that taxes in the future, because of irresponsible government spending, the printing of money, the taxes will likely be higher? A sea of hands goes up, and then I ask the question, so why are you continuing to defer, procrastinate, postpone paying tax on those IRAs or 401ks? To some future perceived unknown advantage, tell your account values are this, and then you're going to pay tax on a bigger sum of money at higher rates. And they go, oh my heck, that's stupid. Yeah. I would recommend you get your money out of those IRAs or 401ks while the account values are lower and taxes are lower than continuing to postpone until taxes are higher, because the government taxes the people who have the money. Who has the money? People who saved it. Retirees. This is what causes retirees to outlive their money, is taxes on top of inflation. I call this the tax and inflation power curve. If you need a net of $100,000 to buy gas and groceries, and you're earning 10% on $1 million nest egg, you have to pull out 50% more money. You have to pull out $150,000, pay tax of a third, $50,000, and net $100,000. You have to pull out 50% more in a 33% bracket. Do you know $1 million nest egg earning 10% will be drained dry, gone in 11 years? My favorite vehicle, the laser fund, $1 million nest egg, will generate $100,000 a year of tax-free income and never deplete the million if you live to be 120. That's why I use a max-funded IUL, so that I won't outlive my money. It's immune from taxes. You've got to make yourself immune from taxes by converting to tax-free, okay? Now, the third ripple effect is market volatility. Market volatility is going to continue to happen because of these politicians who don't even understand economics, and then they wonder why the markets are volatile. I'm going to show you why they're volatile by using commercial real estate as an example. But see, you want to get your money out of a volatile market so that when the market goes down, you don't lose. But if the market goes up, you benefit. That's by using indexing, not index mutual funds. See, people who had their money in index mutual funds and an S&P 500 index in 2008 lost 40%. People who had their money linked to the S&P 500 in an indexed universal life in 2008 didn't lose a dime when the market dropped 40%. They didn't make much of anything, but they didn't lose. And our clients who had indexed universal life locked in gains of 16% tax-free the first 90 days of 2009 after not losing a dime in 2008. Most Americans had to wait until 2012 to make back what they lost in one single year in 2008. Most of our clients had doubled their money by then. This is critical for you to understand. You want to make yourself immune from market volatility besides taxes and inflation. So let me show you one example of why we're going to have market volatility and trouble in America. And again, I'm not a doomsdayer. Let's just take commercial real estate. We have a crisis. And what caused this? Well, during COVID-19, we started to have some dramatic changes on supply and demand in commercial real estate. And so this is, I think, going to cause a worse crash than 2008. I'm not a doomsdayer, but come on, smell the roses. This is going to happen. COVID created, it sort of forced business owners to try an experiment that they were hesitant to try, but then they were forced to try during COVID-19. What was that? to have employees, hunker down and work from home. They wanted to try that experiment to see how efficient they would be. Well, COVID forced them to do that. Basically, in America, most businesses found out that about half of their employees were as efficient or more efficient working from home, and that they could actually then not have a brick and mortar office facility that the employees had to work at. They could work from home. They could save the money of that overhead and pass it on to the employee, and the employee was thrilled, okay? But they found that the other half of employees had to be supervised, they had to be watched, they had to punch a time clock, and they wanted a brick and mortar facility to come and work in cubicles and have conversations at the drinking fountain. They love the social environment, but they could get away with only half the office space. I predicted this in March of 2020 to my own landlord. He could see the writing on the wall too. So what happened to commercial real estate? Because of COVID-19, it created a soft market. 30 to 40% of commercial real estate now is vacant. Prices, therefore, are declining by 40%. They are predicting that this is going to be worse than 2008, and it hurts everybody. It hurts the landlords, it hurts the banks, it hurts the related businesses. And so this is going to get serious. Lisa Chalet, who is the chief investment officer for Morgan Stanley, said that real estate is facing this huge hurdle just in the next couple of years, because out of 2.9 trillion of commercial real estate mortgages, at least 50% of them are going to be forced to have to refinance at interest rates that are double the former interest rate. Landlords who don't understand what I teach in my various books, they take their positive rental income and they pay it against their mortgages. They don't have any liquidity, and they think they can borrow it back. Well, no, these banks are not going to loan you money because you have a bunch of equity because you were paying it into the mortgage. They loan you based on your ability to repay. If you lack the ability to repay, they're going to say fat chance, and they're going to foreclose. Watch, we're going to have a whole bunch of foreclosures, even more than 2008. Are you beginning to see the picture? And so the regional banks are actually responsible for 70 to 80% of all commercial loans. So the regional banks are going to start failing because they're going to have to foreclose on these properties that are worth 40% less, and they loaned out 80% loan to value on them. This is spelling disaster. Now, Elon Musk, whether you like him or not, he says that commercial real estate debt is by far the most serious looming issue we have right now. Mortgages too. He understands this. In fact, the Kobesi letter warns that the rates are going to be doubling. So if you're a landlord and you are going to have to refinance your commercial building, and you can't afford because it's 40% vacant, you can't meet the mortgage payment. See, people are smart and they have it in an insurance contract, like my landlord does, like I do. They just peel off some of the money because they're earning twice as much as the cost of the mortgage, and they can keep the mortgage current even if it's vacant. But most landlords don't understand liquidity. They leverage without liquidity, which is stupidity. So they go and they try to refinance, and they're going to have to pay twice the interest rate, and they can't even qualify. And so now their payments are going to be higher at those higher interest rates, and they don't have the tenants to pay it. Can you see the writing on the wall? So what does this mean? Okay. Recent bank failures beg the question, what is a safer place to put money than a bank? Yes, the banks like Silicon Valley, Signature, First Republic banks, I think are just the beginning. Again, I'm not a doomsdayer, but I am a realist. See the writing on the wall. Regional banks are next. And so what is a safer place to have your money than in a bank? Well, I recommend that you choose institutions that rate high in safety. Okay, they're rated AA, AAA, and use strategies where you have safety of principle so you don't lose when the stock market or the real estate market goes down. Use indexed universal life, where you don't lose when the market goes down, but you get to make money when it goes back up. And you use legal reserve insurance companies. They're some of the safest institutions that have weathered the Great Depression. And in 2008, there wasn't one single legal reserve insurance company that went under. 400 banks went under. 900 more were on the verge of going under. The federal government asked the 5 major banks in America to disclose where they had their Tier 1 assets for liquidity and safety. Guess where they had 30 to 40% of their assets? In legal reserve insurance companies. They were borrowing your money at 1% interest in 2008 and putting it in insurance companies, increasing the safety by 5 or 6 notches higher. Many of these banks are rated triple B. They put it in insurance companies rated AAA. They increase the safety and the rate of return where they're earning 5%, which is 5 times, 500% more than what they were paying you. Simply bypass the middleman. Put your money into these same insurance institutions, and every year you make money, lock in your gains and reset. That's called lock in and reset. So many times I have asked people these 4 questions. Did you or someone you know lose money in 2008? Most people know somebody who did or they did. Well, do you think a crash or a recession like that is going to happen again? Most people say absolutely. The 3rd question is, well, then do you want to have happen next time what happened last time to your money? No. Well, here's the real question. What are you doing differently? And then they have this sheepish look on their face. My advisor has told me just to hang in there until things get back to normal. And the market always comes back. I would recommend not doing that, okay? Do something different. Get your money out of the market. Get it out of those IRAs or 401ks. Get the taxes over and done with sooner than later while your account values are lower, while tax rates are lower. Reposition it into something tax-free from now on. Ride the market back up again, tax-free, not tax-deferred, but protect yourself so that when the market goes down, you don't lose anymore. When the market goes up, you benefit. That is accomplished by using indexing. So my take is this: if your retirement savings are invested in the market, in tax-deferred accounts, wake up. Reposition that money and protect it from losses sooner than later. You can learn how to do that with a strategic rollout, not a rollover. In my book, The Laser Fund, this has been flying off of our warehouse shelves. I send out a couple of hundred of these a week, sometimes 2,000 of these a month. I don't want you to miss out. You can go on Amazon and get this 300-page best-selling book for $20 plus shipping. I'll give you a copy free. So this is actually 2 books in one. This side is 200 pages, 14 chapters with the charts and graphs if you're a left-brain learner. If you're a right-brain learner, you flip it over and read this one. This has 100 pages, 12 chapters, 62 actual client stories. So you can use your left brain or your right brain. Okay, you can read both of these books. But you claim your free copy by simply going to laserfund.com or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I require some skin in the game. I'll cover the rest of that cost, but I'll pay for the book. I'll fire out a hard copy to you via priority mail. When you're in there claiming your free copy, if you like to listen and learn, watch and learn, there's audio and video options there also. You can register for a free educational webinar that we do on a regular basis. You can even schedule an appointment to talk to an IUL specialist with no cost or obligation to see how these strategies may apply in your particular set of circumstances. But I don't want you to lose due to the impending ripple effects of what the government's been doing due to these decisions they make, irresponsible government spending, the printing of money. Taxes are going up. Inflation is going to continue, and we're going to have market volatility. Make yourself immune from those 3 dangers.